Welcome once again to In Touch with Steve Cherundolo. There is Coach Steve Cherundolo, and you got the game under your belts. 3-2 victory over the Portland Timbers. Obviously, there was a lot more attached to it, a very special event with the banner and the rings. When you look back at everything that happened, is there anything that stood out that made it special to you?
It's hard not to think about the final and the celebrations, the emotions, which were all over the place. Seeing the banners and seeing the fans back in the stadium and everybody back together, so getting the band back together, was very special, and it really brought up those emotions that we all had in November.
You said something after the game I found very interesting, and it was a great start for LAFC. They led it by 3 goals, and then you touched on it to the media. Very important to close out games, and the reason you brought up is because of this busy schedule which you're going to be facing this week. If you could delve a little bit more into why it's important that once you get up like that, to finish your opponent.
Sure. After reflecting upon the performance after a few days, I think it's still the biggest priority was to get a result, and we were able to do that, and we're ecstatic about that. Especially starting a week later than everybody else, you need to get some points on the board. But trying to conserve energy and stay within our means and staying tactically disciplined over 90 minutes is very important when you do not have, a full tank of gas to get after teams like we did last year every week. I thought it was very important to the players, and they heard it from me first before I said it to the media, so the players understand where I'm coming from and what's going to be important this season.
Now you get ready for a very busy week. It will be wheels up. You're going to have a game Thursday against Alajuelense in Costa Rica, a game Sunday back at BMO Stadium against New England Revolution. I know it's a lot on your plate, but how do you get the most out of a very busy week? Step
by step. We are focused, and our energy this morning in the video room was on Alajuelense, and it's going to be a tough match. For anybody who's played in these environments, they know it's going to be a battle, and we will probably not be the most favorite people in that city come Thursday night. So it's going to be, like I said, tough. It'll be tight, but we feel well prepared for it, and then what comes after that, we'll deal with it.
It's going to be a famous CONCACAF night, of which you're very familiar with back to your U.S. men's national team playing days, which brings us to the theme of this week, which is road trips. So this is going to be a 6-hour flight down to San Jose. Longest road trip that you have had as a player or coach?
I think the longest road trip, but we had time on the back end to prepare, was the World Cup 2002 in South Korea and Japan. Long flight. They've played in Saprissa before the U.S. national team, so it's also a long flight. But in Hanover, we were in the UEFA Cup a couple years and had a game in Poltava, Ukraine. And that was a very, very long flight with some time difference as well. And we ended up playing at midnight local time in Germany. So it was a strange trip, a lot of things going on that we had to deal with, but we did deal with it and got the W.
So much on the plate for players. We always forget time zones. That's part of it as well. This is going to be a CONCACAF game which you had experience. Toughest place that you went traveling for a game?
There's a few. I think the U.S. team is, with the aside of a few games that we've now figured out, a few cities in the United States, the only team that plays in front of away fans every game. So, but the toughest environment, I think, toughest game was probably San Pedro Sula. And that was a very difficult environment to play in, weather, field, fans, all of the above. But I think it usually went well. And I believe we had one game we were able to celebrate.
It is a tough place down in Honduras, as U.S. men's national teams past and present will all tell you. Funnest road trip you've been on as a player?
Ooh, that's a toss-up between Barbados and Grenada. Both were pretty fun, interesting environments to play in. The results went our way as well, but the hotels we were at were maybe not the best to prepare a team for a World Cup qualifier, but they sure were fun.
Glad to hear that. Have some fun when you're out there. Let's talk about the actual travel. Toughest airport to navigate?
I'm going to say Amsterdam. Schiphol Airport is very big, very busy. Different terminals that look different, so you don't really know where you're going. You can very easily miss signs there and get into the wrong place real fast.
Great answer. Window or aisle for Steve Cherundolo?
Definitely window.
If you get the middle seat, do you get both armrests?
Good question. I heard a discussion on a podcast not too long ago about this. There's some airplane etiquette. The person in the middle is supposed to get both armrests. And I heard some interesting arguments for both sides. I would say the first to sit gets to choose. Would be the way who first come, first serve.
I like that. An item that you forget to pack on your travels?
I think it's like some hair gel or cream because
That's my number one too.
I don't have a lot of hair left, so it's usually something I'll forget.
That's my number one, and socks for some reason. But there you have it. So have a wonderful time and best of luck. I know with the Alajuelense and the New England. We'll see you back here Sunday. And for everyone making the trip, have a great time down there in Costa Rica.